You know, there are a lot of different headphones out there, and my personal three that I use most often are the AirPods Pros for everyday listening, AirPod Maxes for if I'm really just sitting down to listen to music, or actually when I'm streaming, and then I use some Yamaha MT5s when I actually do my video editing. But when you look at over-ear headphones compared to things like truly wireless headphones, truly wireless headphones have pretty much only made three different variants. The first kind are active noise canceling. They're ones that actually plug your ears but then also play a tone to cancel out surrounding noise. And there are over-ear styles of this as well, but for portability, I think Apple pretty much nailed it, but there are a lot of different versions of these. The next ones are the ones that you probably see everywhere because there's a massive variety of them, which are just these sort of standard little earplug styles. They don't have active noise canceling or anything. They just sort of sit in your ear. They're okay. They're simple to make, which is why there's so many varieties. You can have really expensive ones, or you can have really cheap ones like these, which I just found in the trunk of my car, so that's cool. Then you have the ones that Apple popularized back with the AirPods, which was just the sort of one-size-fits-most ear plug, but not plug ones, where they just sort of sit in your ear, and they don't do a whole lot for noise canceling, but if you just want to get some sound, these do it. But you already read the title. You saw that we're going to be talking about something that is none of those things. We're going to be talking about the Sony Link Buds today, because these are what happens when Sony says, what happens if we make in-ear headphones open back? Now, if you're not familiar with what open back headphones are, as the name implies, open backed. These are more commonly used for sound mixing or just listening to music and giving you a very wide soundstage, because the benefit of having the open back is that the sound from the surrounding room blends with the audio coming through your speakers. This gives you a more natural feel, and if it's balanced correctly, like something like the HD600s from Sennheiser, you can have an extremely realistic and, in a lot of ways, a very spatially aware listening experience. You can tell where everybody is in the band. Now, Sony decided to sort of try that with in-ear headphones by making a set of headphones with a hole in the middle. And they actually have a speaker in here that plays while also just having a hole that lets audio straight in from the outside into your ears. This is good for things like if you're going on a run and you want to hear what's going on around you, or, for example, if you just want to sit in an office with music playing and not completely miss the fact that your boss is trying to get your attention. Not saying I've had personal experience with that or anything, but it's likely. We'll get into audio quality in a minute, but the first thing I wanted to talk about is the interesting approach that Sony took with making these, because these are made from recycled plastic, the headphones and the case themselves. Now, this has some benefits, biggest of which is they're recycled. Kudos, very good. The problems arise, though, in the feel and the durability potentially. In terms of the feel, this has a very matte finish to it. I'm not a huge fan of this because I use this as a fidget toy a lot whenever I'm just not using the headphones. I just press the little button, pop the lid, and then I'll close it up. And the number of times it's like slipped out of my hands has been numerous. Apple made this glossy finish, and yeah, the glossy finish is something that I'm sure some people don't like because it gets scratched, but it never loses that grip that you get from a glossy finish. So even if I squeeze it, it takes a lot for it to pop out of my hand. Like I gotta throw it for it to come out of my hand. These have ended up on the floor multiple times just from the feel. The other thing that I'm worried about in the long term is durability, because this has plastic all around. The only metal that I found on it, at least visibly, is in the contacts for the charge case and possibly the little outside piece of the ring for the headphones. The hinge is plastic, and that worries me. See, when Apple made their AirPods, both the standards and the Pros, the backs used metal for their hinges. You have this little metal piece on the back for both of them. And this is great because that means that these things are going to last a very, very long time, assuming the batteries are all right, and assuming you don't kill your first pair by putting them through the wash. Again, no personal experience with that at all. But either way, I've had these things in my pocket for a very long time. I've had the crap beat out of them. I keep them in there with keys. I fidget with the hinge all the time, and I have no doubt in my mind that this hinge is probably going to be the longest lasting part of the whole setup. Granted, something on the outside of these headphones that Sony does have over Apple is the USB-C charger, because Apple still uses Lightning for it, and, well, that sucks. Fortunately, though, for Apple, they use wireless charging. Sony doesn't, so that does kind of suck. But that's fine. The battery life on these has been all right. Sony claims, I think it was like 17 hours total with the case. Not bad. I definitely have to remember to charge them more than I do my AirPods, but I also leave my AirPods just sitting on a wireless charger when I'm not using them most of the time. These, I might have just been content to carry them around until they died, but I don't know. I think the battery life is okay in the earbuds, but the case could use a little bit more. Now, the only other thing I want to talk about before getting into the sound quality and what I actually realized about myself with these headphones is the software experience. Now, Apple has the advantage of building in support for the AirPods by just flipping the lid and it shows up and you hit connect. I was not expecting that from Sony. That's fine. But at least with the AirPods, when I go to pair them up to an Android phone, I just hold the button on the back and they show up like any other pair of Bluetooth headphones. Sony wants you to download an app, and then it will proceed to ask you 4 times to log into your Sony account, and whenever you try to access certain features, well, it's going to ask you to sign into your Sony account for certain features. I don't like that. I don't want that. Stop, Sony. You don't need my information. I'm just playing music. Really pisses me off. Like, I know you can't build these features that you want to have available on these headphones into the iPhone software or Android software, so you need your own app. Just don't make me sign into a Sony account whenever I actually go to try to use some of those features. It's really, really irritating. All right, fine. Enough about that. How are they to use? How do they sound? What are they like? Well, I'm going to try to emulate what they sound like for most people, but I'm also going to try to emulate what they sound like for me because it's a bit different for me. So when it comes to actually wearing them, I was kind of surprised. I was expecting the odd shape to be kind of uncomfortable, but they sit just fine. I had them in all the way out until the batteries died, and they were fantastic to wear. I was super impressed. And because they don't plug your ears in any way, there's no pressure. So audio just plays from the headphones, and you can hear everything around you. Granted, you can turn it up loud enough to cancel out some of that noise, but you also got to keep in mind there's some noise bleed, which is where the audio from the headphones is audible to other people. It's not bad. I didn't notice it super. I don't know what my camera hates about the word super, but it froze the last time I used this word as well. Anyway, it's not super loud for somebody around you if you have it playing, but it's there. So just keep that in mind if you're in a quiet room and you want to blast some music with these headphones in. The person on the other end of the couch might hear you. In terms of the audio quality itself, Sony does have their sort of upsampling that they use, but even with that, this is a very, very bright audio experience. And what I mean by that is without a ton of tweaking, there is not a lot of low end. There can't be. It's a tiny speaker. Like the first time I put AirPod Pros back in after testing these, I felt like the AirPods were too bassy, even though the AirPods are actually fairly well balanced. In fact, here's a graph to show you the audio levels. The low end on the left is going to be your bass, and then on the right side, all the way on the right, is your highs, and everything in the middle is the mids. Yeah, AirPods are pretty well balanced, and then Sony. Oh man, Sony. Yeah, they are very, very bright. I'm not going to call them tinny because it is good quality high-end sound. It's highs and mids that are good. Just bright. There's not a lot of bass. So they're not tinny in the sense that they sound bad, they're just bright. There's a ton of high and mid and no bass. Also, the tap controls were kind of weird. I actually turned off the wide area tap, which is where you can tap a portion of your head and it will actually change it, because I was eating popcorn and I bit down on a half-popped kernel and it picked that up as a tap and it kept pausing and replaying the song. That was super irritating. In fact, I bit down on one kernel and it literally skipped a track because it thought that I tapped it 3 times. Really weird. So if you eat popcorn and wear headphones, which is super niche, yeah, maybe don't have that feature turned on with these headphones. All right, now for this last portion of the video, I'm going to try to give you an idea of what they sound like, and then I'm going to explain my experience with it and why it was a bit different and why I may not use these as a daily driven set of headphones. So first, we're going to have a listen to what a normal person would hear, so here you go. Pretty good. Obviously, there's still background noise. You can hear it, but it's not the end of the world, and the music that comes through is still completely audible. So it's a nice balance between the two. Now, for me, it's a little different, and let me explain why. So when I wear my AirPods Pros, I usually have them in passive mode, meaning that it takes the audio from the outside and passes it through. And for me, that's like super hearing. It's taking whatever the sound is that's on the outside into the microphones and then playing it through. Now, the balance that I use for my headphones is biased towards the right because I played drums for many years and I have a reasonable amount of hearing loss as well as a tad bit of tinnitus in my right ear. So everything that I listen to when I give somebody else a pair of headphones to listen to, they always kind of do this because it's biased to the wrong side. So when I have active noise canceling on, it's perfect. Dead silent, everything's balanced to where it needs to be. And then when passive comes in, it's like hearing aids because everything is balanced to how I would normally hear it if I hadn't screwed my ear up. So that is a huge benefit for me. People in a lot of videos were comparing the open back to these Sony headphones to just naturally passive mode for these headphones. But for me, that's not the case. See, when it's totally silent, this is what it normally sounds like for me. And when I'm in an environment not wearing headphones, this is normally what it sounds like for me. Yeah, so when I put the headphones in, even if I bias them to one side, it's still really disorienting. And I actually ended up just having them play in the middle and accepted the fact that the right side was going to be quieter. And this is what it sounded like for me. So, in conclusion, these headphones at $180 I think are a fantastic set of headphones for somebody who needs a pair of headphones to go on a run, to hear traffic, or wants to actually just hear audio and not miss what's going on around them in any scenario. I think these are fantastic. If you potentially have hearing issues, like I do, it might be best to go with something that has the passive mode because they will actually help your hearing significantly more by keeping things balanced and allowing you to hear what's around you. Just maybe explain to your boss that you're not putting in noise canceling headphones to not hear people. Either way, I think the Sony Link Buds are a really interesting pair of headphones. I think they're really good for what they are. At the price, it's not too bad. I think that the sound quality for the price could be a bit better, but battery life, features, the fact that it's made of recycled plastic, and of course, this really neat experimental design. All of that's really cool, so if you want to give them a shot, I think that it is worth the money. Just make sure that you don't have completely ears like I do. But either way, that's been it. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions or comments, go ahead and drop them down below. I'll be down there for probably the first hour after posting. I'll try to interact with you all a little bit. But aside from that, make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss any upcoming content. I got a lot of stuff planned, including an entire move at some point, maybe. We'll see. So all of this might be changing within the next month or two. Wish me luck. But aside from that, I'll see you all in the next video. Make sure to be there and have a good one.